Rect Seba.
Rect Seba, African philosophy.
La philosophie africaine au fil du temps.
Corrects Connect Africa on Rect Seba, African philosophy. Diopics, Episode 5. Diop and the Crisis of Scientific Rationality. In 1985, in a special issue of the Revue Philosophique, Diop published an article entitled Philosophy, Science, Religion. Lilian Kestelot speaks of this text as follows, and I quote, "A masterly synthesis of the current problems that face philosophy and religion in the presence of the development of sciences and the conception of the universe which results from it." Sheikh Anta Diop was also a physicist. We often forget it. This article testifies that our Egyptologist was also concerned with epistemological issues and that he was closely following the debates of the new physics and the new biology. End of quote. Hello dear listeners, and welcome to this weekly cultural event. We continue our conversations around the philosophical thoughts of Sheikh Anta Diop. Thank you for your kind attention. Hotep. In philosophy, reason is generally understood to mean the ability to conceive of ideas and to elaborate concepts. It is at once a faculty and an activity of the human mind. It has two functions. On the one hand, the systematization of knowledge, and on the other hand, the systematization of acting or human behavior. In some philosophers, reason is synonymous with knowledge or science as opposed to belief and superstition. If the notion of reason refers to the faculty or art of reasoning, the term rationality refers to all that is rational and to the various forms of expression of reason. After these preliminary definitions, let's get back to our subject. The first part of Diop's article to which we allude is entitled, and I quote, "Crisis of Reason and Prospects of a New Epistemology of the Exact Sciences." End of quote. The author mentions here a crucial problem which agitated the scientific world of the 1930s, and I quote, "It is scientific rationalism in its classical form that is called into question. We often speak of a crisis of reason because the principle of causality, determinism, separability of phenomena, and their objectivity, which reign in microphysics, are fundamentally involved in microphysics. Will scientific rationality be strengthened by a deepening and a widening of this debate that no one could foresee, or will it become bogged down on the muddy ground of parapsychology?" End of quote. This is how the problem of the crisis of scientific rationality arose. It turns out that the secular certainties on which science, and in particular classical physics, has based its epistemic validation system are increasingly flickering before new uncontrollable facts. Modern science loses its bearings. She sees her foundations crumble like castles of cards. This is the crisis. Diop's article is teeming with examples that illustrate this collapse of the foundations. Let's take one. The author writes, and I quote, "Determinism supposes causality. Now, quantum mechanics asserts that the object-instrument interaction is acausal. Consequently, it denies on its scale the three fundamental principles of microphysics: the determinism of laws, the causality, the objectivity of phenomena, and the physical reality." End of quote. In the fog of this confusing storm, Albert Einstein mobilized all his energies to safeguard what could be saved from the old building of classical physics. He attacked quantum mechanics and tried to show his incompleteness and lack of coherence. Einstein's objections against quantum physics were rejected by Niels Bohr. Later, Alan Aspect rejected by experimentation confirmed certain predictions and hypotheses of the new physics. The scientific community remained perplexed and confused. The stakes, says Diop, and I quote, were colossal and had deep epistemological implications. End of quote. Many intellectuals from the scientific world took an active part in the debate, defending philosophical positions that Diop groups into three categories. First, the position of the school of Louis de Broglie. It ranks on the side of Einstein, that is to say, the defense of classical determinism against the thesis of the indeterminism of quantum physics. Jean-Pierre Vijay, one of the influential members of this school, wrote in 1980, and I quote, "For the first time in its history, the rational and materialistic explanation of the world is in crisis. It is threatened to be destroyed by the very movement of science." End of quote. Second, the position of Olivier Costa de Brugler, former student of Louis de Broglie. Costa de Brugler was open to the new science. He tries to introduce the irrational into the theoretical framework of reason. He introduced into physics the study of paranormal phenomena, such as telepathy, precognition, premonition, parapsychology, and so on. We must not smile once Diop, because these kinds of interpretation of reality, as surprising as they may seem, were defended by philosophers of science who belonged to the restricted circle of the physicists and mathematicians of the 20th century. Third, the position of Bernard d'Espagnol. This French physicist also tried to expand the field of classical physics by introducing a form of metaphysical thought. He defended the thesis of the existence of a reality in itself, of a substance inaccessible to science. For Diop, this crisis in the foundation of scientific rationality, and especially the new path on which the proponents of quantum mechanics are committed, reveal a much deeper crisis. And I quote, "In fact, we are witnessing a very particular phenomenon in the West, which is very interesting to analyze. It is as if almost a century after Nietzsche, Western scholars had an ardent thirst for spirituality that pushed physicists to revive nature by resuscitating a secular God." End of quote. This crisis challenges philosophers, and particularly African philosophers, to whom Diop entrusts 5 important tasks for the advent of a new rationality. We will talk about it another time. We stop here for today. We will meet again next week. I wish you all the best. in Pharaohic Egyptian terms. Ket, Nebet, Nefret. See you soon.
Rect Seba.
Rect Seba, African philosophy.
La philosophie africaine au fil du temps.
Correct Connect Africa on Rect Seba, African philosophy.